And how many people know about this, that infections can also cause cancers? And this is a leading cause of almost 50% of cancers. There are about 10% of cancers that are genetic. Even
Yes.
if it is genetic, there are still things you can do to minimize the risks of all of these cancers. So
Yeah.
this is so damaging on so many different levels. Now you might think that what is the relation between immunity and cancer? Well, it has everything to do with cancer. Cancer cells are not being detected, they are there in our bodies. Cancer cells are already growing abnormally, they will start growing even more and cause cancers. This is what is happening in those 30 to 50% of cancers that are from avoidable causes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Microbiome Superhero podcast. We are back here with a very exciting episode today. This is something that a lot of people want to know more about, but they don't know where to look for the right kind of information. So, today we are going to talk about a very different aspect of cancer. We all have a lot of questions regarding cancer, and we are trying to address all of them today. So, stay tuned and watch till the very end. I want to give a little bit of a background about me. So, as you might already know, I have a PhD in molecular genetics and a master's in microbiology. After working on cancer genetics for several years, I decided to step back and focus on the root cause of not just cancer, but all diseases, which is nutrition and the gut microbiome. How our nutrition, how our lifestyle impacts the risk of all kinds of chronic diseases, including several forms of cancer. This is the background where I actually started working on this field of the gut microbiome, trying to help people, giving the right kind of information, going back to ancient traditional practices, moving forward to new modern scientific publications, combining all of that to provide this information that most people are not aware of. The focus is on gut health in order to try and reduce the risk of all kinds of diseases, including several forms of cancer. So, do stay tuned to this podcast and watch till the very end because it is all extremely important and relevant for everybody in today's life. So, we have here our very own host, Renuka Kelkar. Welcome, Renuka.
Hi, Rashmi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So, I heard about that today's topic is all about cancer. So,
Yes.
so you have that kind of background, right, Rashmi? Because you were doing the cancer research, right? You were
Yes, yes,
working on that. So,
yes.
as you guys all know that I am a curious George. So I have so many questions because maybe people like me have always have this question in their mind, but they didn't find the answers on the internet or anywhere. That like a how this cancer is increasing from last 5 years, how many patients are there for what is the numbers here we are looking for,
So that's a
everyone
very
knows,
important question.
everyone was were scared about the COVID, but are do you we need to scare about the cancer as well, that's the thing. So what number you are thinking in here, Rashmi?
Okay, so the number of cancers were not that high if we think about 50 years ago or even 20 years ago. But if we take the numbers that WHO has published for 2022, that is a year and a half ago, so the numbers are very scary. The annual number is 20 million people. 20 million were diagnosed with cancer in that year, and
Really?
that and the number of deaths were 9.7 million in 1 year globally. So those numbers are just very, very shocking. And if you think about how many people are living with cancer, so those who already have cancer and they are going through treatment or things like that, it's like 53 or 54 million people worldwide who have been living with cancer in the past 5 years. If we take just the number for 5 years, there are a lot more if we consider even before that. So the numbers are really, really shocking, and children make up a high percentage of that. It's 400,000 children were diagnosed with cancer.
Seriously? Seriously?
400,000, yes.
So So my next question is, Rashmi, for you is that why it happens? Like a why cancer happens to with us, or like a why the like a, you know that like a, if you are eating so much sugar, then you will definitely have a diabetes. But why cancer? What are the symptoms? What are the conditions? Why people are getting a cancer?
That's a very important. I mean, there are several questions in it, but let me take it one by one. So, if you remember, on a packet of cigarettes, it's written that smoking causes cancer and it can cause cancer. So people know, and there are even pictures of cancers shown on that packet.
Yes, yes, that's
So
true.
we all know right from childhood that smoking increases the risk of cancer, tobacco increases the risk of cancer. But what people do not know is that how many people who are diagnosed with cancer are actually doing any of that. So what is happening in cancers is that when we are talking about growth of our cells, so our cells are multiplying. We know that that's
Mm.
how we grow, that's how we maintain our cells. Some cells die, some new cells are made, and this
Yeah.
process is very very regulated in our body. It's a very controlled process. Our body has its own intelligence to do that kind of a thing. But what
Right.
happens in cancer is that that regulation is gone. The cells start multiplying at an uncontrolled rate,
Oh,
and it is out of control of the body's intelligence. And then it starts taking nutrients, it starts taking things that other organs are supposed to get. So
okay.
it is damaging for the entire body. That's how cancers, that's what cancers are, not how. And if we talk about the how, as to how are people getting so many different kinds of cancers. So do you know that tobacco use and all of this actually accounts to a very small percentage of cancers? Infections can also cause cancers. There are some pathogens like Helicobacter pylori, for example. Now, I don't want to get into the technical details, but that bacterial infection can increase the risk of colon cancer, of
Okay.
gastric cancer, because it actually causes ulcers there. It causes those cells to mutate, it causes those cells to change how they are growing. So there are bacteria, there are viruses that can also cause cancer. So that is about 30% of all cancers that are caused because of infections. And how many people know about this, that infections can also cause cancers? There is
Definitely.
PV,
This
the
is a new
cervical cancer.
information. This is a
Yes.
new information definitely for me. Definitely.
So we talked about the HPV vaccine in the previous one of the previous episodes about Poonam
Yeah.
Pandey. So that
Yeah.
is one kind of cancer that is caused by an HPV virus, human papilloma virus, and that can be prevented by vaccination or
Okay.
safe practices. So not all cancers can be prevented, not all infections can be prevented that way. The vaccines are not available for all of them. But if we think about the other cancers, which account for 30 to 50%,
Hmm.
do you know
Hmm.
that they are preventable? They are caused by things like sedentary behavior, low physical activity, very poor diet, alcohol usage. So, if you think of very poor diet, just because we do not get the vitamins, minerals, the fiber, just think about this how preventable this is. And this is a leading cause of almost 50% of cancers.
So, Rashmi, I have one question about this then, because I have seen that some people, they have a really good lifestyle. Okay, they are eating, they are not obese, they don't drinks, they don't smoke, they don't like the normal life, the ideal life, how you can go with that line. So they have that kind of life, but still they are getting a cancer. Like you were talking about the tobacco and all this stuff, right? But some people, they don't you smoke and all this stuff, still they got a mouth cancer. So how the people can like work on that? Basically, I know I am doing all this precaution, taking all the precautions that I shouldn't get a cancer, but still I'm getting it. Like why that's so? Like what's the reason behind that?
That's a
Like
very important point. Do you know that the oral cancers are not just caused by tobacco or smoking? They can also be caused by a lot of other things. If we talk about now, let me go back and talk about the microbiome. We have talked
yeah.
about this in several episodes before, that the microbiome is our invisible organ. We have trillions of microorganisms or germs that are living in our body, inside on our body. So we have something called an oral microbiome, just like we have our gut microbiome, which helps us digest our food, which makes vitamins, minerals, and all of that. We also have an oral microbiome. So our teeth are covered with the bacteria, viruses, and all of these wonderful germs
Yeah.
Our tongue is covered, our palate, everything is covered with wonderful germs that are supposed to help us digesting our food and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And what happens is people are trying to kill those by using antibacterial toothpaste. Almost everybody's toothpaste is antibacterial. If you look
Yeah.
at the ingredients, you will find something in it that is antibacterial. Yes, that is helpful in preventing infections, that is helpful in preventing bad breath, but it
Hmm.
is also killing the good microorganisms. Then
Yes.
people go to other extremes of excessive brushing, of using the tongue cleaner to literally scrape their tongue. These are living cells we are talking about, our own cells. And
Yeah.
then people use mouthwash which has alcohol. Again, that ends up killing the microorganisms, that also ends up drying the mouth. So all of these, when people are trying to improve their hygiene, they are going to this extreme
Yeah.
where
Hmm.
those helpful microorganisms are killed, and then the normal processes are not happening. And if we think about high temperatures, many people also have the habit of drinking tea or coffee or whatever at a very high temperature.
Oh
Our
yeah.
cells are not at all comfortable at that temperature. I mean,
Really?
just think about 100 degrees is the boiling temperature of
It's a
probably tea or
shocking.
coffee,
It's a
and our body
shocking
temperature is
statement.
37 degrees, and then we are drinking tea that is so hot. So if you think about all of these extremes happening in our mouth, the oral microbiome is just not functioning properly. It is not giving the right kind of nutrients, it is not doing the right kind of functions, and our cells and the microorganisms are in harmony. So there
Hmm.
are many different reasons why there could be oral cancers. It's not just because of tobacco or usage or smoking. The other important thing to note is also that there are about 10% of cancers that are genetic.
Okay.
So it is very possible that somebody is living a very healthy life, but they have inherited something that is genetic. So they
So
are already
what is
predisposed to that kind of a
what
cancer.
is this like a what is the microbiome role in these genetic cancers basically? Like a why that so like a my grandmom or my mom or someone else in my family had this kind of cancer. So do I get that kind of I have that risk of that cancer. So is there a microbiome relation with that the genetics basically because we know that the eating not having a good lifestyle causes a cancer. I understand that completely, but why this another type which is causing for the genetic kind of thing, so why microbiome, is there a relation with that?
So there is a correlation. Definitely people who are genetically predisposed to cancer, they have some kind of a mutation, are much more likely to have cancers. Now there are many different kinds of mutations, some are very strong, some are not that strong, so it really depends on that kind of mutation. But how that mutation also plays out, for example, if a mutation is not very strong but then the microbiome is poor, then you are adding two factors, and then it
Oh,
is increasing the risk of cancers. So I will now start talking about what the microbiome does. Let's leave the genetic component apart, because there's not much we can do about it to change it
yeah.
if somebody is predisposed to it, unless they do gene therapy or something like that, which is a totally different topic.
Okay.
Let us just talk about the preventable causes. Even
Yes.
if it is genetic, there are still things you can do to minimize the risks of all of these cancers. So whatever is in our control is our invisible organ. So
Hmm.
let's talk about the gut microbiome, for example,
Yeah.
and how important it is. So let me give you an example of immunity. When we talk about immunity, what is the
Yeah.
first thing that we teach our children, or what is the thing that we learn in our schools or colleges? What do you think? What does our immunity do?
So protect us basically from the viruses. I just know about that, and viruses are and the bacteria is all bad. So stay
Okay.
away from like a wash your hands all the time, and after COVID, use the sanitizer every time. So these are my the things I know about this.
Yes. So this is what is taught about immunity, right? So
Yeah.
this is so damaging on so many different levels. Now I'll come to that one by one, and how this is linked to cancer. Now you might think that what is the relation between immunity and cancer? Well, it has everything to do with cancer. So when we learn about immunity, that immunity is something that protects us against bacteria, viruses, or all kinds of infections.
Yeah.
Firstly, that is true. But
Hmm.
for that to happen, our immune system needs to be trained. It needs training.
Okay.
So, what is happening is that when a baby is born, the immune system doesn't know. Those are cells, and a
Hmm.
lot of them are in the gut. 70% of the immune system is in the digestive tract. So,
Yeah.
in a baby, the immune system is also new. It is also a newborn thing. So, it is trying to learn who is friendly, who is not friendly. So, all of the bacteria, viruses that are already in the gut at that time, which the
Hmm.
baby receives the mother, from the
Hmm.
mother's milk, these
Hmm.
wonderful germs are recognized by the immune system as being very friendly, that, oh, I don't need to attack them. These are safe for me. So the immune system gets trained at that time. And this training happens throughout our life. It needs to happen throughout our life. And
Hmm.
what do we need for that? We need a lot of bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, all of these to train the immune system. And they are
Okay.
coming from the wonderful microbiome. We need trillions of microorganisms. They are not harmful, they are helping us, in fact. There are
Hmm.
very, very few negligible that are actually harming us.
Hmm.
So, this training has to happen. And do you know one very important thing that the immune system also learns to do at that time? That everybody has cancer cells in their body. Cancer
Oh.
cells are something that are happening all the time, because in a body of about 40 trillion cells, something
Yeah.
can go wrong and
Yeah.
cells can start growing abnormally. But
Yeah.
the immune system is trained from when we are born to
Hmm.
detect these kind of abnormal cells, to detect these kind of cancer cells. Their training is happening to detect not just bacteria, viruses that are pathogens, but also cancer cells. And then they kill these cancer cells. That's why most people don't get cancers,
Oh, I
because
think
our
like
immune system is
in our body,
constantly, it's
like
like a security system that you see some person who is roaming around the compound all the time at night and looking after whether there's an intruder.
hmm.
If there's an intruder, that security guard will catch the intruder and take him or her out. So similarly, our body has this surveillance system called immune surveillance, where it is tracking everything that is happening. Where are there any infections? Are there any cancer cells? And then it kills whatever it sees. But for that to happen, it needs to have constant training all the time. And the training comes from a very good microbiome, which most of us don't have, unfortunately.
So I think I feel like because I am from the tech kind of background, right? So I feel like nowadays everyone is talking about AI, right? But now what you are
Yes,
saying to me that our immunity system basically already trained with the AI, like it understand that which germs or which virus is all about the cancer, and then it hit on that and it kill that. Basically that thing is going on in every time our in our body. So there is AI inside our microbiome as well.
absolutely. Wonderful analogy. And it is so important. Just think about it. When we are teaching our children that, oh, all germs are very harmful, try to get rid of them. That itself, that kind of training to our children is actually more harmful, because we are telling them that we don't need our microbiome. We don't need all of these germs. So they are trying to avoid everything to help this training from happening. So when
Yeah,
children don't get those germs, or when even adults don't get those germs, their immune system is not doing that kind of training.
yeah.
And that ends up in very bad ways, because the microbiome is not functioning properly and cancer cells are not being detected. They are there in our bodies. So the immune
Okay.
system thinks that, oh, it's okay. It becomes lazy because
Hmm.
it's not
Okay.
trained properly. So if we think about children who grow up in a very safe environment, they have
Hmm.
never seen intruders, they have never seen any criminal behavior, they have never seen any antisocial elements. So their idea of how things should be in a society are very skewed. They are not normal. But
Yeah.
when they go in the normal world, there are intruders outside, there are criminals outside, there are antisocial elements outside. So this is what is happening constantly in our bodies, because the immune system is not trained. There are cancer cells that are roaming around in our body, but the immune system is not able to detect them. It is
Hmm.
not able to get rid of them. So what will happen? Just think about it, that the cancer cells are already growing abnormally. They will start growing even more and cause cancers. This is what is happening in those 30 to 50% of cancers that are from avoidable causes.
So what is my next question is, Rashmi, for you is that okay, we have talked about why it happens, right? But let's say someone has having like someone is already have a cancer. So how this microbiome, I know we are having many talks, many podcasts or videos around that, about the microbiome and how it helps to go for the any chronic diseases, right? It helps. So what is the role of microbiome, if anyone already have a cancer and they are going through some kind of treatment like a chemo or any other kind of treatment? So is kind of if that kind of people should understand the microbiome aspect with that, and does that helps them to get recover from the cancer?
Very, very important question that was. And there are again two aspects to it. Firstly, the cancer could be a product of a poor microbiome. It could be because, like I said, that when do we have a poor microbiome? When there is a sedentary lifestyle, when there are very poor dietary habits, when there is excessive consumption of alcohol, or things that are not normal, things that are not ideal for our body. So our body does not get immune system training. It also does not get the nutrients to support our cells, the other
Okay.
cells that are functioning normally. They are supposed to get the reagents to perform properly. So they are
Yeah.
not getting any of that. And when this continues, when people already have cancer, that environment is still the same. They
Hmm.
can take chemotherapy, they can take radiation, but the environment has not changed. The microbiome is very poor. So
Hmm.
even if
Okay.
it is not the cause of that cancer, it is not supportive of recovery as well. For
Okay.
recovery to happen, the patient needs all those vitamins, minerals, all of the nutrients that a normal body needs. They need more than that, much more
Hmm.
than that. So that is why there's a need to fix their microbiome also. So a
Okay.
proper diet, some kind of exercise. There can be many, many things, even probiotics to
Yeah, I
improve
was
the gut
just
microbiome,
asking that
because
only.
probiotics are going to provide with live germs to populate the microbiome. Those are the things. And the other aspect is when they're going through chemotherapy, there is one thing called responder versus non-responder. So you
Hmm.
might have heard that, even people who have the same kind of cancer might
Yeah.
respond very differently to the same chemotherapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the chemotherapy responders tend to have a very different microbiome. Many researchers have already shown that, it's published, that the microbiome is also responsible partly for how people metabolize the medications, how they digest the medications, or what actually happens to the medication that goes in their system. So when they are responding to chemotherapy, the germs in their body, the microbiome is actually helping them respond. That's why they are responding so well. But
Okay.
in the non-responders, people who do not respond to chemotherapy, they might not have the right kind of microbiome to support that chemotherapy.
Oh, okay.
So there are many clinical trials going on where researchers have taken the gut microbiome from responders and
Hmm.
transplanted it to non-responders, and then the non-responders start responding because their gut microbiome has changed. So it has a lot to do with how people respond to chemotherapy or to treatment for cancer. Not just cancer, it can be any other disease actually. So that's a very important aspect of cancer. Even recovery after that, even after that chemotherapy or radiation or whatever has finished, that
Yeah.
is going to damage the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
everybody needs a very diverse, very healthy gut microbiome to help them live a normal life. So even post all of these treatments, the recovery it is very important to include aspects of the gut microbiome in recovery as well. So that was a very important question that you asked.
So it means that the patient who already have a cancer, who already have recovered from the cancer, but if they keep their lifestyle healthy, if they think about the microbiome friendly lifestyle, right? What we are always talking about this. So that really helps them to maintain themselves or their health and everything. Like I have seen that many people has recovered from the cancer, they recover for 4 5 years, and again some another cancer can come out, and they didn't know about this, and that's how they got again caught with the cancer, and then things are getting very worst kind of thing. I have seen that many cases like that. So for that kind of situation, please be aware of the if you have come out through the cancer, but still you have to maintain your lifestyle with that align to the cancer, align with the microbiome which helps you to recover from the cancer as well. So what do you want to say about this, Rashmi? Like to tell our audience that if someone is already suffering from these conditions and they have recovered, but don't ignore the things that they should go on with the another kind of threaten the another kind of cancer or something. What do
Yes,
you
yes,
want to talk about
absolutely.
this?
That is very important. When people come out of cancer, they do not want to relapse into the same form of cancer or another, because there still might be cancer cells that are not fully gone.
Okay.
It's just possible that they are not detected. That's why they are declared cancer free. So it is possible that they will come back if they get a chance, if the
Okay.
immune system is not again trained properly, or if the lifestyle is not healthy. So it is very important for people who have gone through cancer, who have completed their treatment, to follow a very healthy lifestyle so that it does not reoccur. And they really need to keep their gut microbiome healthy. It is not something just for cancer patients, it is also for everybody else, to prevent the risk of cancer. If we think about this number of 30 to 50%, which is from preventable ones, well, the ones from tobacco usage are also preventable by not consuming such things. But the genetic component is only 10%, at the most 10%. The rest 90% are from either infections or from avoidable causes. So it is very much in our control to stop this.
Okay. So Rashmi, I just want to ask you the last question about this podcast. And that is very important because we are talking about why it happens, how you can prevent it. But could you please give some tips to our audience that, okay, if you follow this kind of routine, so your microbiome helps to train your immunity system basically. So what are the some tips you want to give to our audience?
Yes, there are some very easy things. It's nothing fancy at all. So, if we think about how our lives have become like they are in silos, and we think that we are living alone, people are living in, kind of silos, alone on their own, on their digital devices. And we tend to think that everything needs to be very clean, almost sterile. We use a lot of antibacterial agents, disinfecting agents to clean surfaces of tables. And, we need to ask ourselves, is this how our ancestors were living when people were cavemen? Or
Hmm.
even if we talk about our grandparents, how were they living? Did they have this kind of sanitization? Yes, they
Hmm.
had more infections than we do, but do we really need to live in a very clean environment like this? Too clean. So
Hmm.
when we live in an environment that is too clean, when we are using antibacterial hand washes, the first thing to do is to get rid of the hand wash that is antibacterial, because we
Oh,
are not living or working in a hospital. Most of us are not. So
yeah.
why do we need to get rid of all of these germs? We even have a very good skin microbiome that helps us keep our skin intact. So just imagine we don't know about this and we are trying to kill them all the time. So what will happen to
Hmm.
the skin?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that is the first thing, that get rid of all of these antibacterial agents, all of these things that people use even to wash clothes. They think they need to sterilize them. That is the first thing. The second thing is to get enough sunlight so that we make enough vitamin D. When we have vitamins, minerals in our body tends to function in a very amazing way. Get enough oxygen. We do very shallow breathing. We breathe only from the throat, not even from the chest. We are supposed to breathe from the belly. So there are
Hmm.
three different stages of breathing. If we do deep enough breathing and we get enough oxygen, it helps support the microbiome. Then exercise is another very amazing thing that improves the diversity of the microbiome. 150 minutes of exercise every week will improve. Walking also 10,000 steps every day of brisk walking. That is amazing. Then, if we talk about the other simple things, diet, of course, I did not talk about it before, but diet plays a huge role. So
Okay.
now we tend to eat one pot meals because of lack of time, or just convenience. If we think about the kind of meals that our children are taking in their lunch boxes, white
Yeah.
bread, white pasta, hardly any vegetables. So
Yeah.
there's the meals are full of carbohydrates. And yes, carbohydrates can be good if they are good quality fiber. But the carbohydrates that we are consuming are just maybe refined flour, white rice, white pasta, things that are digested very fast and they release sugar very fast. So anything that releases sugar or has sugar is going to destroy the microbiome. It is going to increase our insulin resistance also. So
Okay.
we need to have a diet that is rich in fiber, that is rich in fruits, vegetables that are seasonal, that are multicolored, that include all five color groups. So
Yeah. Okay.
the rainbow diet, that is very important because different colors have different vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, and we need
Mm.
all of them.
Yeah.
We cannot get the same nutrient from from just eat by eating greens. We also need the blues, purples, reds, oranges, yellows, whites, and browns. We need all of these
Yeah.
different colored fruits and vegetables, and we need to include a variety of these. So 30 different types of plant-based foods per week is amazing for the diversity of the microbiome.
Okay.
And we also need to include different types of grains, different types of lentils, cereals, nuts, seeds, lean protein, and healthy fats. Yes, we
Mm.
also need healthy fats for our diet. So these are some very simple things. And then we add things like that we need for stress reduction, like mindfulness practices and meditation. It is amazing. There are so many scientific studies that have shown that even meditation improves the diversity of the microbiome. And why do we need the diversity of the microbiome? Because each microorganism is giving us a certain kind of function. If we
Yeah.
want all of these this spectrum of functions to be fulfilled in our body, we need a wide spectrum of microorganisms. That's why we need this diversity. And for this wonderful diversity of microorganisms, we need to feed them that kind of food. We need to do that kind of activities. Even socializing is amazing for the microbiome because we are always exchanging germs with other people when we socialize. So instead of living in isolation in a bubble inside our houses, or just being on digital devices, being outdoors with other people is just amazing. So these were some very, very simple things. And of course, hydrating, drinking
Mm.
enough water. That is another very important thing. So we really underestimate the microbiome. If we go back to the traditional Indian practices, the Indian thali or the way of living, it was so microbiome friendly. So we
Mm.
just need to look back at our own traditions to figure out what are the easy things that we can incorporate in our own lives based on that, and teach our children, give our children this kind of knowledge that our immune system needs this kind of training. It is not just for preventing infections, it is also for preventing all kinds of cancers.
Okay.
So give your immune system that exposure to the wonderful germs. That is the takeaway. That the bottom line is we need more germs in our lives. We need more numbers of germs. We need more types of germs
Yeah.
to remain free from infections, to remain free from different kinds of cancers.
So I think people, because of this podcast, this is always like a insightful for me as well to learn the new things from you, Rashmi. Thank you so much. And I want to say like a few lines here that we always thought about this food industry or the health industry, and we always concentrate on the slim and fat and all these things, weight loss journey. But guys, there are more things you have to think in that way, how to prevent the cancer, how you can be having the healthy lifestyle, which is like a long run for us. So think in that way and concentrate on that thing. I think weight loss journey will be the part of that journey. You will do that in that sense. But it's a very important topic that why we have to be have a healthy lifestyle and have a diverse microbiome, which helps us to prevent the cancers and other chronic diseases. So thank you so much for this podcast, Rashmi.
Yes, thank you so much, Renuka. You mentioned two very important points here that I missed: sleep and processed foods. So, getting
Yeah.
good enough sleep and avoiding processed foods, because we talk about very diverse microbiome, and there are many chemicals in our environment already that we cannot control right now. That also cause our increase our risks of cancers. But whatever is in our control, we should do at least that, and that is good enough.
So I think, Rashmi, for our next podcast, we can talk about how processed food help increase our cancer risk. So this is our next topic, guys. Please tune with us. We will bring you the more information about this. So thank you.